Hello there. I'm Lisa, and I am from Grief Support for Moms. You may have seen me on Instagram or Facebook, or perhaps you've even attended one of my retreats. Today, I want to talk about, am I doing grief wrong? This was something I struggled with myself for a very long time. And it's one of the most common questions that I get from other grieving mothers. Let me quickly tell you my story. I knew from the moment that we were told by the policeman and the coroner who came to our home, knowing that Katie had been killed in a car accident, I knew from that moment that I wanted to live for her. I wanted to celebrate her life, not talk about her death all the time. And I wanted to do things that would make her proud or honor her. I knew that from the first moment. So everywhere I turned, probably like you, I heard nothing encouraging. People, sometimes strangers, would come up to me and say, "Your marriage is over. Your other child, your 15-year-old son, is going to live with addiction and mental health issues for the rest of his life. Oh, and by the way, you can kiss the next 5 years of your life goodbye because they will be spent in your bed with the blankets over your head, and it will just be the most miserable 5 years of your life." I didn't want to live that way. I was determined not to live that way. I've always pictured my daughter Katie standing over my shoulder. This is her in this picture, and looking at me, watching me, and thinking, man, if I was laying on the floor or in bed with the blankets over my head, my daughter would not be very happy with me. In fact, I could picture her in her sassiness, with her hands on her hips, saying, "Come on, Mom." I've always wanted to make her proud. The problem I had was that the majority of the grief groups that I found on social media and sometimes even in person had the exact same message. Your life is over. It took me a long time to speak my truth. Life is not over. Life will never, ever be the same as it was when our child was here, but it can still be good. I think the other reason that many of us feel like we're doing grief wrong is that we're all unique. Of course, we're going to do grief differently, just like we would do anything differently. We are our own unique snowflakes. So we have to quit comparing our grief to the next person's grief, to the next person's grief. But perhaps the biggest reason why I think that we question, are we doing grief wrong, has to do with a theory that was created years and years and years ago, back in the 50s, I believe, called the 5 stages of grief. Perhaps you've heard of it. As someone who works in healthcare myself, that was something that we studied, and I thought it to be true until my own daughter died, and I realized it was a bunch of hogwash. The truth of the matter is that this theory was developed years and years ago to explain what a person might feel if they were in the hospital and had been given a terminal diagnosis. That makes a lot more sense to me. But why is it still applied to everyone and everything in every situation that is remotely grief related? There are far more emotions that have to do with grief and loss than those 5. And somehow we get to the end and acceptance is there and we're all better. We all know, if you've lost a child or a significant person in your life, you know that grief never ends. So this theory makes us feel like failures, and it makes us question ourselves. I must be doing this wrong. As a grieving mother, I assure you, you are doing nothing wrong. As long as you are not self-harming yourself and that you are doing the very best that you can. You're not doing anything wrong. My tip for you today is to make sure that you reach out to other grieving mothers who have an aligned approach to grief that you do. We need connection. We need to talk to other people that just get it. And oftentimes, those people are other grieving mothers. But I want you to make sure that the people in those groups, whether they're live or online, that their thoughts and their approach to grief align with yours, whatever your thoughts are. So please stay tuned as I add more videos to my YouTube channel. I thank you very much for following. And if you want to watch more, make sure and subscribe so that you can stay up to date when I put more YouTube videos on my channel and my website. All right. Take care, everyone.